Well, hi everyone. So we are from group 5. We are going to talk about subtitling, dubbing, and voiceover. But first, I will introduce our group members. There are Reza, Christine, Na, Dara, Hana, Dika, and Yoga. So, let's start. So, the first is subtitling. Well, according to Shuttleworth and Cowie, subtitling is a method of language transfer used in translating types of mass audio-visual communication, such as film and television, which was first used in 1929. So, the word subtitle is the prefix sub, means below, followed by title. In some cases, such as live opera, the dialogue is displayed above the stage in what are referred to as subtitles. Subtitling is the process of providing synchronized caption for film and television dialogue, and more recently for live opera. Dialogue is one channel of cinematic information that is verbal auditory. Other channels are non-verbal auditory, such as music, sound effects, natural sounds, and there is non-verbal visual like action, movement, composition, verbal visual like posters, letters, signs, advertisement, graffiti, etc. In short, subtitling is giving a written translation of spoken dialogues on screen simultaneously with the audio. Well, there are two types of subtitling. The first is interlingual subtitling. So this is between two languages, and intralingual subtitling in the same language. So look at the example.
He has.
This boy will be famous. There won't be a child in our world who doesn't know his name.
Exactly. He's far better off growing up away from all of that.
This is an example of intralingual subtitling, when the movie is spoken in English, but the subtitle is in Indonesia, or vice versa. Well, look at the second example, that is intralingual subtitling.
You are?
Ron Weasley.
Pleasure. You two better change into robes. I expect we'll be arriving soon.
So, intralingual subtitling is commonly available for language learning purposes and to aid hard of hearing people. The detail of each type of subtitling will be discussed the next. First, captioning intralingual subtitling. In intralingual subtitling, subtitles are textual versions of the dialogue or commentary in films, television programs, video games, and the like, usually displayed at the bottom of the screen. They can either be a form of written translation of a dialogue in a foreign language or a written rendering of the dialogue in the same language, with or without added information, to help viewers who are deaf and hard of hearing to follow the dialogue, or people who cannot understand the spoken dialogue or who have action recognition problems. Television teletext subtitles, which are hidden unless requested by the viewer from a menu or by selecting the relevant teletext page, always carry additional sound representation for deaf and hard of hearing viewers. Teletext subtitle language follows the original audio, except in multilingual countries where the broadcaster may provide subtitle in additional language on other teletext pages. Sometimes subtitle may be shown on a separate display below the screen, thus saving the filmmaker from creating a subtitle copy for perhaps just one showing. Television subtitling for the deaf and hard of hearing is also referred to as closed captioning in some countries. Today, professional subtitlers usually work with specialist computer software and hardware where the video is digitally stored on a hard disk, making each individual frame instantly accessible, like this picture. Besides creating the subtitles, the subtitler usually also tells the computer software the exact position where each subtitle should appear and disappear. For cinema film, this task is traditionally done by separate technicians. The end result is a subtitle file containing the actual subtitles as well as position markers indicating where each subtitle should appear and disappear. These markers are usually based on time code if it is work for electronic media like TV, video, or DVD, or on film laying if the subtitles are to be used for traditional cinema film.
Okay, and then the finished subtitle file is used to add the subtitles to the picture. Either it is open subtitles or directly put into the picture, or closed subtitles, which mean that it is embedded in the vertical interval, superimposed or put on the picture using an external decoder. It's usually on TV or video. It can also be rendered or converted to TIFF or BMP graphics that are later superimposed on the picture by the end user's equipment. It's usually on DVD or DVB broadcast. There are several types of captioning, which are closed captioning, real-time captioning, pre-prepared captioning, newsroom captioning, live captioning, hybrid captioning, and offline captioning. The first here we have closed captioning. Closed captioning is the American term for closed subtitles that is specifically intended for people who are deaf and hard of hearing. These are transcription rather than a translation, and it usually contains descriptions of important non-dialogue audio such as sights, door creaks, and also lyrics. In British English, subtitles usually refers to subtitles for the hard of hearing, or here we have HOH subtitles. And then the next we have real-time captioning or online captioning. It usually occurs at any captioned live event, whether it is in news bulletins, current affairs programs, sport, some talk shows, and political and special events. It is common in the United Kingdom and the United States to be used because there are regulations that all TV eventually must be accessible for people who are deaf and hard of hearing. The next is pre-prepared captioning. Some programs may be prepared in several hours before the broadcast time, and they need to prepare a time-coded caption file for automatic playout in a very limited time. And it is similar to offline captions, although the accuracy of queuing may be compromised slightly because of the limited time of the preparation. And then we have here newsroom captioning. It involves the automatic transfer of text from the newsroom computer system to a device which produces it as captions. It would only apply to programs which had been scripted, and because not all of the news segments are pre-scripted, such as in weather and sports segments of a typical news broadcast, it results in coverage of less than 30% of a local news broadcast. The next is live captioning or communication access real-time translation (CART). It requires stenographers who use stenotype or velotype keyboards to transcribe stenographic input for presentation as caption within 2 to 3 seconds of the representing audio. They must caption anything which is purely live and unscripted. However, the most recent developments include operators using speech recognition software and revoicing the dialogue, and 50% of all live captioning in the United Kingdom is through speech recognition in 2005. This type of captioning is different from the offline captioning because it is created as an event takes place and presented as a continuous flow of text as people speak. The next types of captioning will be delivered by my friend.
Stenography. Stenography is a system of rendering words phonetically in English with its multitude of homophones. It is particularly unsuited to easy transcriptions. For example, there, or they Real-time stenographers are the most highly skilled in their professions. Why? Because stenographers working in court and inquires usually have 24 hours in which to deliver their transcripts. Consequently, they may enter the same phonetic stenographic codes for a variety of homophones, and fix up the spelling later. Real-time stenographers must deliver their transcriptions accurately and immediately. They must therefore develop techniques for keying homophones differently, and be unswayed by the pressures of delivering accurate product on immediate demand. Next is a hybrid captioning. Because different programs are produced under different conditions, a case-by-case basis must consequently determine captioning methodology. Some bulletins may have a high indices of truly live material, or insufficient access to video feeds and scripts may be provided in the captioning facility, making stenography unavoidable. Other bulletins may be pre-recorded just before going to air, making the pre-prepared text preferable. In Australia and the United Kingdom, hybrid methodologies have proven to be the best way to provide comprehensive, accurate, and cost-effective caption on news and current affairs programs. News captioning applications currently available are designed to accept text from a variety of inputs, such as stenography, velotype, QWERTY, as she import, and the newsroom computer. This allows one facility to handle a variety of online captioning requirements and to ensure that captioners properly caption all programs. Next is why there are two reasons why new bulletins can often be captioned without stenographic inputs. Because 1. Most items are scripted on the newsroom computer system, and this text can be electronically imported into the captioning system. The second is individual news stories are of short duration. So, even if they are made available only just prior to broadcast, there is still time to QWERTY in text. Next is offline captioning. For non-live or pre-recorded programs, television program providers can choose offline captioning. Captioners gear offline captioning toward the high-end television industry, providing highly customized captioning features, such as a pop-on style captions, specialized screen placement, speaker identifications, italics, special characters, and sound effects. Offline captioning involves a five-step design and editing process, and does much more than simply display the text of a program. Offline captioning helps the viewer first follow a storyline, become aware of mood and feeling, and allows them to fully enjoy the entire viewing experience. Offline captioning is the preferred presentation style for entertainment type programming. Next slide is second, translation, interlingual subtitling. Okay, subtitles. Subtitles can be used to translate a dialogue from foreign language into a native language of the audience. It is not only the quickest and the cheapest method of translating content, but it also usually preferred as it is possible for the audience to hear the original dialogue and voices of the actors. Subtitling is cheaper because it is less expensive than hiring professional voice talents. Subtitling only requires fewer people than dubbing, and the audience are still be able to hear the voice of the actors. Next slide is subtitle translation. Subtitle translation is sometimes very different from the translation of written text. Usually during the process of creating subtitles for a film or television program, the picture and each sentence of the audio are analyzed by the subtitle translator. Also, the subtitle translator may or may not have access to a written transcript of the dialogue, especially in the field of commercial subtitles. The subtitle translator often interprets what it meant, rather than translating the manner in which the dialogue is stated. That is, the meaning is more important than a form. The audience, the audience does not always appreciate this, as it can be frustrating for people who are familiar with some of the spoken language. Spoken language may contain verbal padding or culturally implied meanings that cannot be conveyed in the writing subtitles. Also, the subtitle translator may also condense the dialogue to achieve an acceptable reading speed, whereby purpose is more important than a form.
The two alternative methods of translating films in a foreign language are: first, dubbing, in which other actors record over the voices of the original actors in a different language; and lecturing, a form of voice-over for fictional material where a narrator tells the audience what the actors are saying while their voices can be heard in the background. Historically, the preference for dubbing or subtitling in various countries is largely based on the arrival of sound films in the early 1930s. The reason to choose subtitle was largely due to financial reasons. Some countries in Europe, Germany, Italy, and Spain chose dubbing due to political preference, as dubbing makes it possible to create a dialogue which is totally different from the original. The proportion of subtitling is slowly growing, mainly to save costs and time, but also due to a growing acceptance among younger generations who are better readers and increasingly have a basic knowledge of English.
Since the introduction of the DVD, subtitles or dubbing are included in high-budget film or cable TV, and it provides subtitles in many languages. And in subtitles, the translation of subtitles are made separately rather than subtitles, and it can be frustrating for someone attempting to learn a foreign language, while the terms allow for the smoothest possible flow of the subtitles. Dubbing in the traditional subtitling countries can generally regarded as something very strange and unnatural for animated films and children TV program. And the TV program that intended for preschool children. Animated films are dubbed. Ambient noise and effects recorded on a separate soundtrack. Dubbing a low-quality production into a second language produces little or no noticeable effect. In live-action movies, viewers are often distracted when the audio doesn't match the actors' lip movements. It may seem detached, inappropriate, overexpressive, and it creates a less enjoyable viewing experience. Okay, this is there's one of most common reason we hear for not watching a foreign film. People are generally annoyed by subtitles because subtitles combines reading and watching films. Reading and watching films are two different things, and certain people believe that the two should never meet. Subtitling forces the viewer to read throughout the whole film, and most people hate this. Okay. Subtitles have to take up part of the screen, and if there is not space above or below the film, as in letterbox formats, uh, the subtitles have to take up space amongst the visual of a film, and it will cover certain visual film aspect or make the viewer look away from a certain area of screen. But there are some advantages of subtitling. The first one, it is faster and cost saving, and it costs as little as 1/15 as much as dubbing. Second, it doesn't affect the original audio track, and it doesn't require many things such as a voice talent, skilled sound professional, or studio time to mix and sync audio tracks. The original language also can still be heard, and it's good for language learning and helpful for hard of hearing people. However, we have the subtitle also have limitation. The first one, timing is crucial. Okay. There are four limitations of subtitling. The first one, timing is crucial in subtitling. A subtitle has a minimum duration of a second and maximum duration of 6 until 7 seconds on screen. There are reading speed parameters. The relation between the duration of a subtitle and the number of characters are 37 until 39 per line, or normally 2, with an optimal upper time of 6 seconds for processing the information. It is from Dias Sintas and Rimael 2007. And there is a need for literacy and the habit of reading. Second, synchrony between speech and text in subtitling. Subtitles are generally inserted simultaneously with the onset of speech and removed a half to 1.5 seconds after the speech segment has finished. The subtitles should appear as the characters start speaking and should disappear when they stop, so that they are synchronized with the audio. The short changes must be taken into account. And the third, subtitles usually occupy the bottom strip of the screen space. The space which we have in our translation is limited to two lines of subtitles. Each line contains 35 until 42 characters depending on the specification. And also this is include spaces. The subtitle is formed by 2 lines. And 4, subtitles intrude on the visual aspect and distract attention. Overall, compression of the original material, and only a fraction of the information contained in the original information can be conveyed.
Okay, for the next is subtitling encompasses three basic perspectives. The first one is the relationship between the spoken and written language. And the second one is the relationship between the foreign language and the target language. And the third is the relationship between complete and partial translation. Okay, and then the tips for subtitling. Subtitling must not exceed 2 lines to ensure that viewers have the time to read the subtitle and still absorb the scene. To ensure clear visibility and easy legibility, line breaks should be chosen in such a way as to coincide with natural breaks in sentence structure. Keeping subtitles short and sweet is preferable. And then the case study. The first one is the fat letters versus the thin. This is the example is like the mommy's home made Mandarin marmalade and literate little Lily white litigants. And the second one is line bricks. Where are they placed? This is the example. And the next is text reduction or addition. How much? This is the example from the film. Okay. And the next is about problems in subtitlings. There are some problems in subtitling, such as wordplay, bad language, and cultural specificity. The first one is about wordplay. Some movies contain puns. How should puns be translated? Some puns are translated into puns in target language. Some puns are not translated and compensated in a different part. And then, while in the other cases, some puns are indicated, but no translation is given. And then next is bad language. Translating obscenities is especially challenging when creating one international language version of a film. Swear words are rarely universal. In Spanish, for the example, they differ greatly from one neighboring country to another. And the example in Indonesia, uh, all swear words in English are translated into less offensive terms, such as sialan or keparat. And then the cultural specificity. Adapting to the source language cultures is not a piece of cake. It is often hard to find references that resonate locally, especially between English and Indonesian. For example, in the film Cartoon, the character's metal is a redneck country bumpkin with an accent and jargon firmly rooted in American culture. And the last is about dubbing. More widely known as lip sync. Lip sync. Dubbing refers to the process in which the foreign dialogue is adjusted to the mouth movement of the actor in the film, and which is designed to give the impression that the actor whom the audience sees are actually speaking in PL. Ideally, the viewers has the impression that the on-screen actor or participants are actually speaking the dialogue. Okay, thank you.
Drawbacks of dubbing. So I want to talk about drawbacks of dubbing. So usually older kung fu films are famous for their bad dubbing. But is it really bad dubbing? So this is the reason. There are two reasons actually. The first one is from language factor. Given the vast differences between English and Mandarin Chinese, it's always going to be difficult for sentences to sound natural and take the same length of time to execute in either language. This means that the characters will either appear to be talking when they are not, or viewers will hear characters talking even though their mouths aren't moving. The other famous examples are the dubbing of Latin telenovelas during the 1980s and 1990s, such as Escrava Isaura, Maria Mercedes, Betty La Fea, and etc. The second reason or the second factor is from the cast. The work of the original cast loses something as well. An actor's performance includes both their dialogue and their movements. If you mix dialogue from one actor with the movements of another, there will always be something lost. Maybe the largest issue we have with dubbing is the language. When a film is dubbed, there will be a little to no evidence of the original language. We'd like to think occasionally scriptwriters think of phonesthetics or the inherent beauty of certain words or phrases when they write a scene. This also disappears when a film is dubbed. The next one is voiceover. So what is voiceover? Here, voiceover is a type of revoicing. The original sound can be heard for several seconds before the TL switch takes over. VoiceOver is the preferred mode of translation for interviews, news, current affairs, and other non-fiction programs. As cheap as subtitling, VoiceOver, also known as off-camera or off-stage commentary, is a production technique where a voice that is not part of the narrative or non-diegetic is used in a radio, television production, filmmaking, theater, or other presentation. The voiceover may be spoken by someone who appears elsewhere in the production or by a specialist voice actor. It is pre-recorded and placed over the top of a film or a video, and commonly used in documentaries or news reports to explain information. So there are some benefits of voiceover. The first one is character device. Uh, to heighten the character, like in Herman Melville's Moby Dick, uh, 1956, Ismail or Richard Basehart narrates the story and sometimes commands on the action in voiceover, as does Joe Gillis in Sunset Boulevard, 1950, and Eric Erickson in The Counterfeit Treasure, 1962, a dog Pip in Great Expectation, 1946, and Michael York in a television remake, 1974. And also, voiceover techniques is likewise used to give voices and personalities to animated characters. Noteworthy and versatile voice actors include Mel Blanc, Dallas Butler, Don Messick, Paul Frees, Gene Foray, and Peter Russell. The other benefits is for education or descriptive device. So the voiceover has many applications in nonfiction as well. Television news is often presented as a series of video clips of newsworthy events, with voiceover by the reporters describing the significance of the scenes being presented. These are interspersed with straight video of the news anchors describing stories for which video is not shown. Television networks such as History Channel and the Discovery Channel make extensive use of voiceovers. On NBC, the television show Starting Over used Sylvia Villagrán as the voiceover narrator to tell a story. Other thing is live sport broadcasts are usually shown as extensive voiceover by expert announcers over video of the sporting event. And then the voiceover commentary by a leading critic, historian, or by the production personnel themselves is often a prominent feature of the release of feature films or documentaries on DVDs. I think that's all from our group. Thank you for your attention and see you.